Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha, brought to you by Serpunk, where we cover everything that is happening in Web3 in the digital renaissance in the last week. And we're going over charts, we're going over markets, we're going over a ton of NFT news that is happening right now in crypto news under the radar. I'm super bullish about it. And let's go ahead and dive right into all the great things that happen in the wonderful world of Web3. To start off, we have Bitcoin here. The leader, as always, we like to gauge where it's at. So we have it on a weekly. And we did have that big breakout last week on volume, and not only that, but also in price action through some multiple key levels. But again, we did go over that this 30K, 29K area is a pretty solid resistance. So far, we're kind of holding near that area, and hopefully that can continue. The longer we hold there, the higher probability that we can actually get through this level. But just keeping my eye on it and hoping that that happens. And as well with Ethereum. Ethereum needs to hold this 17 area. Its previous resistance hopefully turns into support now. But right now, it's just kind of wiggling up and down below that level. So watching those in the short term. In terms of altcoins, there's really nothing going on. They're kind of super choppy or just coming down. It seems like all the attention has been on Bitcoin and Ethereum in this last move. Moving into some NFTs. So NFTs were down horrendous last week. We talked about there was not much going on, and this week has been really not any better. So CryptoPunks really was where the market was at in Blur. Airdrop farmers were going crazy. As you can see, the price action is just wild to both directions. It looked good for a minute going through that 70 ETH mark, but of course in this market with Blur and their incentives, you really can't trust any price action. So that move instantly failed, and we went to the completely other side of this channel. As they say in markets, failed moves cause fast moves, and this is exactly what happened here. Hopefully we can hold inside this channel. Sideways is better than down, so I'm hoping we can regain this channel here. But right now we're below, and it's not looking good as we speak. Same thing with Bored Ape Yacht Club. We'd like to start off with the leaders, CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, anything else that's showing some sort of relative strength. Bored Apes is still below the support level on the weekly. It's holding up a little bit here, but nothing to get too excited about. Same thing as Mutants. They tend to kind of move in parallel. Azuki, which is one of the more stronger price action NFT projects out there, it pulled back. We got a trend line and a little bit of a basing support area here, and it's trying to hold and watching that area to see if we can, or if we lose it as another sign of weakness. I don't ever go over soul projects, but these things were sticking out like a sore thumb. D-Gods and Utes are breaking out as the NFT market is melting collectively. So as you can see, D-Gods on the daily is really breaking out of some levels here into some all-time high, I believe all-time high territory. Same thing with Utes, even though Utes is kind of pulled back heavily. We know that NFTs is an anticipation game, and with that news today coming out about them being able to migrate over to Polygon, maybe people are taking some profits into that. And of course, that's nothing new in the space. All right, so Serpunk, I wonder who that is. Shout out to him where he says, crazy to think that D-Gods is at around an 8 ETH floor currently. When you compare that to the top ETH NFT projects, it's number 3 behind Bored Ape Yacht Club and Azuki. It's pretty incredible that D-Gods is able to hold that kind of price, especially in this market, and especially being on a completely different chain. And I'm really interested to see what happens to their price and their community once now they're migrating over to that Polygon and Ethereum like Utes. Will be on both chains here. So interesting stuff here. And moving over to some of the so-called blue chips that have just been melting for the last several weeks in a row. Artifact continues to melt. Nothing much changing there. Same thing with Moonbirds. Moonbirds is nosediving. It's getting close to that original mint price around 2 ETH. So you hate to see it. Same thing with Doodles. We're getting in some pretty, heavy selling levels here. At some point we need a rally, but again, never advised to catch a falling knife. Cool Cats, not looking great. Down last 3 weeks in a row. We're getting close to below 1 ETH mark, which, is kind of wild comparing to all-time high prices. Campai Pandas, this broke support last week after breaking this long-term trend line, and it's just kind of holding tight there. Let's hope we can hold this moving average. Checks, which we know has been the story for months with Jack Butcher. It's at support here. It's really been down only for like 5 weeks in a row. Got below that 1 ETH mark. Let's see if we can get a relief rally off this important support level that's been an important spot 3 times in a row now. Same thing with Pepin has just been down only. There's really not a critical support here in the near term, but if the market starts to turn, I'm sure this will go with it. And of course, this has that anticipation baked in with Jack Butcher revealing different steps of the PFP process of the eventual PFP drop for this project. The potatoes from the meme land ecosystem. Potatoes and captains are showing some of the most relative strength, almost some of the only relative strength in the market right now. As you can see, it's been up the last couple of days, and it's not too far off of all-time highs. So something to watch there. There's some real strength in this ecosystem, as you can see with captains as well. Captains ran up big into some previous news. We came all the way back, gave all those gains back, but they bought the hell out of that dip pretty heavy. And now we're right around that 5 ETH mark. So we got a decent resistance here. So I'm not expecting too much, but maybe that reveal is potentially coming soon and somebody knows something. Who knows? Price usually equals news. Pudgy Penguins, one of the strongest ones in the ecosystem as well. As you can see, they break support and it's kind of hanging below there. Need to see some action here. Killer Bear is getting a little bit of relief rally off this support level. Nothing too exciting. On-chain Monkey, we hit that resistance, pulled back as expected, and trying to hold that 2 ETH mark now. All right, so shout out to DeFi Digital. Well, they illustrate here that liquidity in the NFT space is at an all-time high, and as you can see from the charts, the market has taken advantage of that to sell their NFTs. We've been down only for a while now. Machi Big Brother, who has been one of the biggest whales in Blur, and we've talked about him numerous times in the show. Of course, I believe he's right here where he says, don't blame Blur, your NFTs are growing to zero anyways. And he's probably right. I think deep down we all know that. All right, let's jump into some of the things that could be impacting the market, some more charts and great data. Of course, we always have some sort of tweet from NFT Statistics always putting out that fire data. And here, while big crypto punks were trying to break out prior to failing, there was a huge divergence between punks and the rest of the blue chip market. And he illustrates that here perfectly. And of course, as we can see now in hindsight, that did not last very long. And he illustrates here also that punks had incredible volume and it had a record level of sales in one day, 65 punks. Ever sold by a single wallet in one day. So pretty wild. And shout out Cyrus, the great NFT trader, who says punks just did 10,000 ETH in volume in 15 minutes. The bid and ask spread has been 0.01 ETH all week. Till the farmers all rushed into the exit at once and nuked the top bid down by 7.5 ETH. Everyone's favorite farmer got left bag holding 70 cents of them, 74.5 ETH cost basis. So we've been seeing a lot of this. Be careful if you're playing this game because the floors can just come right under you. As we know that a lot of this demand is really not legit. And this is kind of what it looked like, right? The bid farmers were kind of propping up the floor artificially, and as soon as that game ended, the floor just, the stairs up and the elevator down. All right, something interesting, shout out to Cyrus, where he says, and this was actually corrected, it wasn't the first ever Bitcoin NFT backed loan, but it was the first ever ordinal punk on the Bitcoin blockchain loan. And interesting to see that the market is willing to give out 32 ETH for Bitcoin NFTs. So there's a market brewing there. And shout out to ALO, where we had the largest crypto airdrop in history, Arbitrum, which is an L2 ecosystem built on top of Ethereum. And here he illustrates 76% of the airdrop was claimed, and the process of the claim went really well. The price is around 1.45. Here you can tell it's actually lower now. We didn't see it drop below $1 despite being the largest airdrop in crypto history, but we are probably going to see that here. It's getting pretty bearish here in the short term, but it's pretty normal to see airdrops being sold or just bounce for a couple of days and then sold off. So it's nothing too surprising, but it's good to see that the ecosystem just got a ton of free money for using their platform, and most people have already claimed, and most of those people have already sold as well. And that's nothing new with the crypto market. So shout out to Treasure DAO, where they say here they're pleased to be the recipient of 8 million Arbitrum tokens, the highest allocation to be offered to any DAO on Arbitrum. As one of the earlier projects on Arbitrum for gaming NFTs, with Treasure being attributable to 95% of all related transactions on Arbitrum, which is huge. And it's cool to see Arbitrum rewarding their biggest builders on their chain. Definitely the top dog in terms of rewards for that coin. Optimism, which is one of the other top L2 ecosystems built on Ethereum, they did their airdrop a couple months ago, and as you can see, it kind of went straight down for weeks. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the analog that we can use for Arbitrum in terms of price in the short term. It has pretty much skyrocketed since then, so sometimes you just got to get those weak hands, those whales out as they take their profits. Sometimes it ends up, this is also a common pattern when it comes to airdrops, where you'll get that few day bounce and then it sells off. We've seen that numerous times with Blur. It looks rare. So these are the two kind of patterns to look out for when it comes to the airdrop pattern. Moving forward to some Bitcoin blockchain NFTs, as War Daddy Capital, shout out to him, where he says pretty much Magic Eden has integrated Ordinal NFT trading, and it's already 2x the volume of the nearest Ordinals marketplace on Bitcoin. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that because that was just released this week on Magic Eden, which now offers Solana, Polygon, Ethereum, and Bitcoin NFTs, I believe. Shout out Leonidas, where he says Ordinals just hit another all-time high for daily fees spent inscribing. So that Ordinals market on Bitcoin is still hot. Shout out to NFT Statistics, where if you didn't notice from us just going over charts, this is the large cap PFP index, and it's just not doing well. Also, this was hella bearish. First time since starting my daily NFT YouTube show that this slide has shown every single component of the large cap index negative over 24 hours. So the selling is accelerating to the downside broadly across the NFT market. At some point, this needs to slow down, and somebody needs to bid here and allow for a relief rally. Shout out to Dylan Leclerc, where he illustrates, and we've gone over this in previous shows, but it continues to go lower in terms of Bitcoin illiquidity. It's getting really dried up out there in the crypto ecosystem in terms of liquidity. Shout out to Connor, where he says the liquidity situation in crypto is worsening after the banking fears this month. I dived into several liquidity metrics to give an update on all things, and really, I think Alan makes a great point here. Crypto is at a historically low liquidity environment right now due to the on and off ramps being killed. Swings will be magnified in both directions and eventually could see a very strong, mind-blowing move higher that would leave a lot of people with their faces. We don't know if that's going to end up being the move, right? If it's going to be to the upside. But if it is, it would be a face-ripping one as liquidity is at really low levels right now. And that's mainly due to the chokehold on the crypto industry right now with crypto companies being unbanked and all these sort of things that we've gone over in previous shows. You don't love to see it. Moving into some really interesting charts I came across for digital art. And this is the top 10 AI generated art collections. As you can see, Claire Silver and a few other popular ones here. They have really exploded, and this is a great visual that illustrates that. They've really outperformed most things in NFTs lately. And this is for top selling one artist in the last year, Xcopy, Grant Yoon, DK, a lot of the guys and girls that we've seen and heard about, and their top sales. Some of these people are selling pieces at all-time highs, personal all-time highs. So digital art is still doing well in some aspects. This is a great illustration, performance of the top 50 digital art collections against different benchmarks. And this is the digital top 50 against Ethereum and NASDAQ. So they had a huge run up, and they've done relatively well in terms of holding that move, especially compared to other benchmarks and PFPs, as you'll see in a minute here. PFPs, and this is the top PFP collections, and this is the visual representation of that. This has a more of a boom and bust look to it relative to the top 10 generative art collections, where they boomed, and they're sort of holding that move pretty well, especially compared to many other benchmarks. And this is some of the top generative art collections that this chart is representing. So traditional art world typically works this way as well. It's kind of art up only in the really sought after art pieces, and that is starting to translate into digital art as well, as you can see here. And shout out to Tim for the wonderful blog and charts where I pulled this information from. Appreciate that. Make sure to give him a follow. Large sales of the week. Let's jump in and see if whales are still bidding. All right, so Yuga Ordinals sells for 40 ETH. It was the top sale on the secondary market for a Yuga Ordinals. You love to see it because actually Yuga Ordinals are down from the auction for some of those bidders. Shout out to NFT Statistics, where he posted here, big Bored Ape Yacht Club sale, Blue Beams merch ape sells for 318 ETH. Good sale here. Congrats to everybody. Blue Beams like to sell at a premium. Again, shout out to NFT Statistics, where it shows this Ordinal D guy just sold for 3.5 Bitcoin, 56 Ethereum. That's crazy, especially in this market environment. That's 60% higher than any Yuga Ordinal has sold thus far. D-Gods, of course, there's only 500 on Bitcoin, but man, people are bidding these at crazy prices even during this market environment. Again, shout out to NFT Statistics, where he shows Xcopy just sold one of one for 355 ETH. Well, this was actually owned by Kevin Rose, founder of Moonbirds and Proof, and sold to Curated, which is a DAO that collects different grails in space. So pretty big sale there for Xcopy, and congrats to everybody in the transaction. A golden penguin has sold. Look at this cute thing. The merch looks great, and it was a 40 ETH sale. Pretty big sale in the penguins ecosystem, and especially in this market. This is the opposite of a large sale. This is actually a large loss. Really hate to see it for Brandon Riley on Twitter, where he says, "Today I accidentally burned a crypto punk NFTs trying to wrap my punk. I was so focused on following the instructions exactly that I slipped up, destroying a third of my net worth in a single transaction. Very unfortunate. What he was trying to do is wrap his crypto punk so that he can inscribe it onto the Bitcoin blockchain. And in doing so, he made a mistake and he accidentally sent it to the burnt address. CryptoPunks are not cheap, and this was a huge chunk of his net worth. You hate to see it. So just be careful out there, especially with new tech, as crypto, as we know, is still an early nascent industry. Jumping into some new mints. Let's see what we've got that's interesting in NFTs launching soon here. New NFT from the Dragon Ball team. This is cool. Deki Den is a new Web3 IP co-developed by Strata and legendary studio Toei Animation. Here are the deets. Supply, 7,777 PFPs. The mint's going to be on April 5th, coming up soon. Mint price is sort of high for this kind of market environment, 0.29 ETH. And there's some benefits for being a Genesis holder. Excuse me. The idea here is that there's going to be 7 different gods, and they have kind of their own theme. So that's kind of cool to see. They have some kind of story built up into it. Also, Reddit, the Reddit Series 3 job is coming up soon, sometime in April. And they did confirm that they're going to have Chris, the creator of the Nylon Cat, which is a very popular meme. They partnered up with him, and he's going to be one of the artists for the Reddit drop coming up. Also, really cool news. I think this is going to help Reddit NFTs really start to take off if they do this. Reddit CEO just confirmed they'll be creating a marketplace for Reddit NFTs. The hype is unreal. And this is a video where he said on stage that they plan on releasing this soon. And I think that's where Reddit NFT volume will actually start to pick up. For now, most Reddit users are not willing to make a crypto wallet, learn how to use OpenSea, learn how to bid, learn how to do all these things. But once that marketplace drops, and then I think that's when the action will really start to take off. And shout out to John Carlos, who does this email subscription that you can sign up for. It's free, and he sends it to you every week with all the new NFT drops. And this is sort of what's still on the list for the near future. Let's jump into some NFT news. There's a ton, and some of these projects are really still building during the bear, and I want to help highlight these people. So shout out to Yudi, where he has created an NFT project on the Bitcoin blockchain called Taproot Wizard, and now they are accepting applications. I think he's taken a page out of the Utes playbook, as they did something similar like this, and it was extremely popular on Twitter. But he apparently actually went through the process. You sign up online, and they take you through quests to have a chance to mint a Taproot Wizard. And of course, the first thing that they're asking of you is to take a wizard shower and post a link of your video. And there's already dozens and dozens of videos that I've seen on Twitter of people doing this. And this is a crazy one of people actually, you know, and the goal is that you have to dress up as a wizard and take a shower. These people took it to the next level, and they went through the car wash. So NFT people are having fun with this. Taproot Wizards are really causing a lot of hype on Twitter right now, and I'm excited to see how their mint does in the future. And it looks like it's official. Ryan Carson sold his AKA Forever Punk for 74 ETH, and this looks like it's his last action for his exit of Web3. And shout out to Avi, where he tweets here, with the auction of Now 649, there's some really cool things happening in the Now ecosystem right now. And here, for example, the Nows that will make their first direct return on investment. Now Proposal 224 is about to go live, and the TLDR is that a really well-known artist and successful artist in real life will create a one noun of the day physical painting for the winner of the auction for the next 7 days. This is really cool. Over the years, Matt has experimented with thousands of different techniques to automate and digitize painting, and the work has paid off. He's done collaborations with world-renowned artists, and this is kind of what they're doing. One painting every day for 7 days for the people who buy or win the auction for that noun. Within that week, they will get a painting for their noun, and this is what it will look like. And this is sort of like automated painting, right? It's kind of like a breakthrough with painting that this artist has done, and he's sharing it with the nouns ecosystem. So, for example, if whoever wins this auction for this specific noun, they're going to get that physical sent to them, and this is going to be done for 7 nouns. And the goal is that the value of those nouns should go up as they're getting that extra benefit of the physical piece, and that should be driving more ETH to the nouns ecosystem treasury. Some other really cool things that is happening in the noun ecosystem. A proposal has been passed by a large margin. People voted for it. Nouns Deli is opening up in Melbourne, which that's not too far from me. I'm excited to go over there and have myself a nounish sandwich and look at this archetype of the restaurant here, and this is going to be big. I think this is the first time nouns will have a physical location. I think the only other NFTs that I could say have something like this is Bored Apes. So you love to see it. Nouns has done crazy things, like they funded a studio to create nouns float during the Rose Parade. This was passed for $1.1 million, and it was a huge success. As you can see, it came out incredible. And of course, the most recent Nouns DAO sprint has been finished, and it was for private voting research. 20 teams proposed 2,000 votes by the Nouns ecosystem, and 3 teams will be getting funded for $70,000. Pretty big, especially for this kind of tech that is needed for DAO governance. And shout out to Aztec, who's one of the well-known platforms out there for privacy on blockchains, and they were one of the winners of the proposal to help bring private voting to the Nouns DAO. Moving on to Adidas. We know they did their crazy drop last year with a couple of projects in the ecosystem, and they're finally dropping some alpha towards those NFTs again. So what they want you to do is connect your wallet to Burn Your Face 2 NFT and mint into alts by Adidas. So this is what they look like. You mint to one alts by Adidas, ERC, CF71 NFT. Welcome to the alts by Adidas era. So you're kind of burning and getting this brand new NFT. It looks kind of cool. And it looks like episode 1 is going to be dropping in April. So we got a couple things happening next month, it looks like. And, it feels like a lot of NFT projects have been building, and we're starting to see some things starting to release. As we know, it takes time. Shout out to Michael, where he says, this is the first ever exhibition of NFTs in an official Chinese art institution. He says, I'm beyond proud to be a part of this current exhibition at CAFA Art Museum in Beijing titled Crypto Art, A New Possibility. This is really, really cool. China, of course, is a huge market, and it looks like NFTs are really starting to hit those museums out there. Shout out to Overlord, where they said they're taking over gaming, and you're all coming with us. They just signed a deal with a AAA gaming studio with a team of 125 people, $3 billion locked total value collectively. Rockstar co-founder backed and advised. So this is them, Revolving Games. They've created cutting-edge AAA games before, and this is a big partnership for them. Shout out to them. Valhalla, a gaming NFT project, has released some pretty interesting news. I don't think I've seen other projects do something like this. And I'm actually really into this and what they're doing. They're introducing clans, and it's a suite of tools for supporting their trait-based DAOs. They're really doubling down on community building. And one of those key features is clan grants, which for 1 month, 50% of Valhalla's royalties will be placed into a fund, 25 grand minimum. And the top 3 clans that accrue the highest clan score for 30 days will split that grant. As you can see the breakdown here. And those clans are going to be determined by traits. And then there's going to be a financial dashboard. So you'll actually be able to track a chart and the actual price of specific traits, NFTs within the Valhalla ecosystem. As you can see here, Grail Hala has its own area on the dashboard. And they also have clan investments to kickstart their clans. They're going to be partnered with members in the community and invested already 40 grand alongside them to jumpstart their initiatives. And this is already some of the different clans that have emerged within the Valhalla ecosystem. And to take it a step further, they say if a clan successfully creates excitement around a trait, we believe it deserves to earn royalties from its sales for those traits. So they're going to be revenue sharing with these communities that are really marketing those specific clans and doing it better than the others. So shout out to them. I think that was really interesting, very innovative. And I think that So Web3 is doubling down on your community. How much can you support them? I think you're seeing a lot of NFT projects kind of come back to that because they realize that this needs to be done as a community effort. And Amazon is out with a blog educating its audience on NFTs. It covered fungible versus, it really just the basics. Fungible versus not fungible, smart contracts, and how NFTs are created. So it looks like they're starting to educate people to, moving forward into their future NFT marketplace that should be dropping, I believe, next month as well. Again, April could be a big month for NFTs. Shout out to Utes, where finally the migration to the Polygon chain is happening. As we know, a couple of months ago, Polygon paid Frank and D-Gods a grant of millions of dollars to move over to the Polygon chain from Solana, and the migration is finally occurring. And he said this is happening on March 27th, finally. So he also said we are airdropping a Bitcoin DGOD to 1 Ute on Polygon in the next 24 hours. A snapshot of Utes on Polygon will be taken 24 hours after the migration. So they're incentivizing people. They really want people to move fast on this and migrate their DGODs. I'm sorry, their Utes. The winning Ute will be randomly selected and the ID number will be announced on Discord. Also, Pudgy Penguins. It looks like they're finally shedding some news on the ROGs. And the people have been buying the ROGs for so long without knowing what the hell they do. I believe they talked about it more on the Twitter Spaces, but there really wasn't too much information on the tweet. But they do say it's a huge part of the vision, and they have been supporting the Pudgy Penguin Little Pigeon collections. The Pudgy Rods multiplier only activates if paired with one or the other. The utility's first implementation will be in Q2 with Project Overpass, and they don't really share much details on this, but at least there's now something to look forward to. And some more Pudgy Penguin news. Shout out to Near McD.eth, where she says Pudgies file new U.S. trademark applications, 2 for a Pudgy head logo and 1 for a different penguin logo. So it looks like they got some things in the works. Artifact, one of the founders here, says the future is being built for creators. Soon the world will understand the power of Artifact game-ready 3D assets. And this was a video of him as a Clone X, and I believe a world that they built using Unity. It looks like looks really high quality, and they say there's already 3D files that have been created for every single clone. So I really think that Artifact attracts people who are into fashion, but also really good 3D artists. And as we know, the future is digital and 3D, and these artists are going to be able to create content in these 3D worlds, especially with all these files. So I'm excited to see the CloneX community shine in that kind of environment. Ack here talks a little bit more about the certificate of authenticity that is the NFT paired to the physical painting of the muse. He says something cool just happened. Should have shared this from the start. So this is a contract. It's a special contract. It allows me to create these certificates for every physical I have and will have. Owner's address is stamped digitally on chain through the contract as signature. So if the physical work sells, the previous owner will send the physical and a digital to new owner's address, and sales history will reflect that, and a new owner will reflect as the collector. So now when you sell a physical piece, you're going to have to send over the let's say the title of the painting alongside of that on the blockchain to prove the authenticity, and he makes this a requirement when you buy his painting. And this is what it looks like. It has the artwork's title, the details, the artist, Ack on Twitter. The collector's name is put on there, and the price, and and also there's an auction house. So this is put for provenance on the blockchain as an NFT and sent over. So that was really cool, and I think that's just going to become a standard at some point for all NFTs. Moving forward into some Web3 gaming news. Shout out to C. Dixon, who is one of the leaders at A16Z for the crypto area where they invest into Web3 startups. So here he says he's excited that they've invested into EVE Online, one of the longest running and most successful MMO games ever. They're leading a $40 million investment. They're a AAA gaming project, and he says they will help shape the next generation of Web3 games. The new EVE title will combine their 25 years of game design experience with the latest blockchain tech to enable a new frontier in player agency and autonomy. Excited to see this. You're seeing a lot of Web3 gaming news, and I think that will be the new meta at some point, hopefully later this year. More Web3 gaming news. Shout out to Bryson, who's a Web3 streamer. He says, this is huge. Sony recently filed a patent for a cross-platform NFT trading framework for video games. This is big. This is what it looks like. The patent TLDR players would earn NFTs in the form of skins and other in-game content items. What's really cool is players would even be able to trade and transfer NFTs to other platforms and consoles. NFTs could be coming to all consoles in not so distant futures. Gamers in disbelief as they're always flooding NFTs, but come on. They know it's inevitable. They're already buying skins, and this is just sort of the next evolution of that. Shout out to World Wide Web, where we talked about them on the last couple shows. They raised some money recently, and they're getting ready for Blockbusters, a browser-based 5v5 MOBA. Compete to own. It was a really cool trailer where they integrated many different NFT projects into this future game. I'm excited to test that out. Shout out to Nifty Island. I remember really following them during the bull, and I haven't really heard from them, but it looks like they were building during the bear. They gave you a little sneak peek of the first of an infinite set of player-created games you can play on your island with your NFTs. So I'm telling you, this game meta looks to be picking up as a lot of these games looking to release. They're looking like they're releasing teasers and looking to open up here soon. All right. The New York Times say a federal court dismissed a lawsuit that questioned the ownership rules around an NFT called Quantum, which sold for $1.7 million at Sotheby's in 2021, and basically saying, yes, these NFTs, if you buy an NFT, it does have the regular ownership rules around it. And also the IRS and the U.S. Treasury Department said today they plan to tax NFTs like physical collectibles and art, but they're seeking feedback, which is actually really cool to hear. We don't want them to just rush in and make mistakes here on this, but it looks like we're finally starting to get some regulation, or at least deeper talks on them regarding NFT ownership. What consists a piece of art? What is a collectible? What is a security? Shout out to Escher, which is dropping soon. It's the platform for open editions. All of your favorite editions in one place. They're launching in about a week. They've teamed up with some really big artists in the space to release an open edition art piece in collaboration with all of them. Shout out to them. And Lior.eth, which he owns the Mega Trippy, one of the super rare Yuga Lab NFTs, Bored Apes. Pretty big news. As you can see, this is the Lavir. I hope I pronounced that right. It's apparently a prominent museum in Europe, I believe. And they have, as you can see, showcased a number of Bored Ape yacht clubs. It's a pretty big deal alongside of the Mega Trippy, as you can see here. And we are seeing here a hotel in France is piloting digital art inside of every single bedroom. Is this where we finally see our crypto dick butts and our X copy pieces of art in every hotel room across the world? I don't know. I may be too optimistic with that, but at least maybe we'll start to see some of our Grail digital art pieces across the world in different hotel rooms. That would be very bullish. And shout out to Punk's Comic, who is ran and owned by Pixel Vault, where they drop some alpha on Twitter, and they say, yes, a PFP for the Punks comic world drawn by Chris Wall and with traits that reimagine the classic CryptoPunks, just as Chris has done with our core characters. Free for holders of comic holders 1, 2 through 3. And also G-Funk, the founder and CEO, says if you collect 1 through 6, there will be an extra bonus when it comes time for the PFP drop. So there's a little bit of alpha on the Punks comics. Also, we talked about this last week, excuse me, the Metaverse course, which was put together by Punk6529 and Dr. Richard. This was done by a real life university. And finally, you are able to claim your certificate, which is a mint pass, and connect your wallet. And this is for addresses that completed that exam. So if the allow list consists of the people, if you completed the exam with a passing grade, you will be eligible to claim the certificate mint pass, which you will then be able to burn in order to redeem the official course certificate. So this is really cool. Taking a class, passing, and then being able to claim that via an NFT based on your score. So as of now, students who pass the exam are able to claim the Meta 501 certificate mint pass for a cost of 0.25. Available to claim only until the 6th of April. So if you completed that test and passed, then make sure you have that on your schedule. That's super exciting. NowPass, which NowPass is a media Web3 company, has some issues with their drop, but they did address it, and they said, here, we are rectifying the problem. We are currently testing the new contract in testnet prior to deploying. We are pausing the current phase 2 mint immediately, and we'll reopen immediately after the new contract is deployed. And they are saving grace here with anyone who has already participated will be airdropped a new and updated NowPass that corresponds to the NFT that they minted. Some issues. We know, sometimes when NFTs, things could be new, and it's hard to always have a perfect drop, but at least they're doing right by their minters. Shout out to 9gag CEO, founder of Meme Land ecosystem, where they updated the metadata on their captains, and it's this baby. No clue what it means, but maybe that could be some alpha of some sort for the ecosystem. Shout out to Moonbirds, where they say, together with Transient Labs, we are thrilled to announce Outliers, a new program for digital creators who are pushing technical barriers and innovating through their artwork. And what they say about this is that as part of the Outliers program, 15 creators will spend 6 weeks designing and building the next groundbreaking projects in Web3. Creators will have access to a curated curriculum, advanced tools, and a network of industry leaders to help them bring their ideas to life. This is going to be the first cohort in spring of 2023. As you can see, these are some big names and artists that we all know and love on Twitter. And it looks like they're starting this incubation program for Web3 design. And really cool to see. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. As NFT statistics shows here, this was actually a really, really big deal. One of the craziest things I saw this week, where he says, congrats to the holders of Max Payne and Friends, which is one of Xcopy's NFT projects. As you can see, they're relatively cheap to especially a lot of Xcopy's work. They're below 1 ETH. And he says, Xcopy performed a raffle for all Max Payne and Friends holders, which there's less than 5,000. He did it on Twitter, and he announced the winner, which was the Max Payne and Friends holder of number 4493. And whoever the holder number of this specific Max Payne was given a free Xcopy 1 of 1. And this is what it was. This is huge. And the reason this is huge is because exactly what NFT statistics says is Xcopy's 1 of 1s have been selling for $400,000 plus. There was a raffle for these holders. That's incredible. For simply holding an NFT that is under 1 ETH, you had a chance to win basically $400,000. Incredible stuff. Shout out to Xcopy for rewarding holders here. Campi Pandas, they're dropping some alpha. I'm telling you, a lot of projects have been building, and they've been dropping a lot of teasers on what's to come, and I'm excited for it. They say it's time for the Panda Lab. It starts with Panda Points. Beginning today, all pandas will receive points daily. The higher the rarity, the more points you'll earn. What do you do with those points? Let's jump into it. Panda Points is our native off-chain currency that pandas automatically accrue daily. So I'm assuming you don't need to stake and you're just kind of accruing those points. This could be spent on different things in the ecosystem, the Campi Casino, exclusive events and services, and it kind of illustrates it in this infograph. Also, they're going to have Campi Gaming, a collection of casual mini games you can play for points, challenge friends, and compete for leaderboard prizes coming in April 2023. So this is pretty cool. They're going to create their, mini games for you to compete and gain points in. And then Doodles, finally, we didn't know when this would come or if it would ever come, but the Genesis box reveal date is finally happening at the end of this month very soon. All right, that's all the NFT news. Let's jump into Second Trip, as I had a chance, thanks to my great friend Shondo _ETH on Twitter, where he allocated me the guest pass, as every other deed holder was given a guest pass this time around for the Second Trip, the second beta test for Otherside Metaverse from Yuga Labs. Let's jump right in. Super cool experience. This is where you spawned in the beginning when you entered the Otherside. And then at some point, there was a screen that kind of came into the metaverse where you can see Curtis the monkey and Coda. Out of nowhere, a portal came out. It said, jump into the wormhole. Everybody jumped into the portal. This is what it looked like when you were in the portal. Pretty epic. And this is where it took you, to this different world. And there were so many cool things. And there was a little interactive mini game that came with it. But what was cool that they did differently this time is that there was team captains. So depending on what team you were listening to your captain, and they were encouraging you, telling you to kind of, move fast and where we were at on the leaderboard at all times. So the objective this time around for Second Trip was to gather as many blobs, which were like these sort of like little coins that were scattered around the land, and you would collect them. As you can see, the team's leaderboard was here based on how many blobs they were collecting. The objective was to collect blobs, come back to the frogs, and feed the frogs with these blobs. And every time you did that, they would shoot off this beam into this wall that the more the frog shot at it, it would break down, and then eventually you got to go into this new portal. And that was super fun. Shout out to DGen Triland, where he says, why does the Second Trip matter? Over 7,200 concurrent users. This kind of thing has never been done with all these users in one place at once. Rendering different types of avatars. This time you could connect your wallet and choose your NFT, and it would show up as the face of your sort of Otherside avatar. Non-Yuga PFP functionality, team-based gamification with NFT prizes, spatial audio, expanded world building, and the size of the deeds were massive. And this was really true. Yeah, the worlds were huge. That was pretty interesting. And Otherside Meta, they said, congratulations to Team Glacia for securing the most blobs for their toads in Second Trip. And there was a prize, and they'll be getting airdropped winged helmet to their wallet within a week. And this seems to be a wearable in the Otherside ecosystem. And here, Otherside tweets out, thanks to the 7,200 concurrent Voyagers who joined in on Second Trip. And this is an epic picture of that experience. So hell of a good time. I honestly was a huge fan of it. I know it's super early. I know it's going to take a long time to really get this to the masses, but I'm really impressed with the tech. I was able to join in on my MacBook Pro with no lag, no latency issues at all, and that's pretty impressive. So I'm very excited to see what they do in the future with this. That's enough of Second Trip. Let's move into crypto news, which there was actually a lot of groundbreaking news for crypto tech this week. And let's start right in. A huge partnership with two of some of the biggest L2 ecosystem on Ethereum, one for gaming and one for scaling. Immutable is on the gaming side, as you can see here, and they've teamed up with Polygon. So they say, we are changing the game forever with Immutable's zero knowledge EVM, which is Polygon's new tech. They've joined forces with Polygon, their leading scaling protocol, to create the new home of gaming, and all of it on Ethereum. So a new EVM-compatible serial knowledge rollup powered by Polygon state-of-the-art technology in collaboration with Immutable's full platform support. So now Immutable has become that one-stop shop for game builders now that they are integrating Polygon's new zero-knowledge rollup technology. So that's really cool to see. And this is the CEO of Polygon, where they announced that the zero-knowledge EVM new tech that they're releasing is dropping here, right? So it's officially launching on mainnet. This allows the world for us to continue scaling to 1 billion users on Polygon in a fast and secure way. This has been in the making, finally happening, and pretty big news, and I'm excited to see how this expands the ecosystem on Ethereum. Not only did Polygon announce that they're going to mainnet, but so did ZK Sync. Not only did they announce they're going to mainnet alpha and it is open to all users, but they also raised $200 million, which is a pretty large raise for a crypto protocol. They decided to go full open source, which is a big deal. And they also stated that they're reserving 2/3 of a potential future token for the ecosystem, which airdrop farmers are going to definitely take advantage of this. And they also partnered up with Open Zeppelin, which is an auditing firm. And just a reminder for all you DJs out there, Ethereum, shout out to Nosh, where he says Ethereum is about to unlock 14% of its total supply in the first week of April. So April seems to be like there's going to be a lot of activity in terms of the Web3 world. And that's approximately $28 billion worth of Ether that will have the ability to unstake and either hold their ETH or sell. But this is going to be definitely an interesting dynamic when this occurs. All right, so Greenpeace USA, which is a climate activist group, says some climate activists think Bitcoin is just fake internet money that they can safely ignore. But the truth is, Bitcoin is causing dangerous amounts of real-world pollution from its erroneous consumption of fossil fuels, all due to its outdated code. They're proposing that Bitcoin needs to go from proof of work to proof of stake like Ethereum has. Ethereum, in the middle of that transition, in the completion of that transition, was able to reduce their energy consumption by over 90%. And they want Bitcoin to do the same. But really, their goal was to bring awareness to this consumption of energy from Bitcoin. And what's interesting is the opposite happened. The Bitcoin community loved the art piece, this physical art that was created by an artist we'll go over in a minute here. They loved it so much that they thought, man, this was actually a huge marketing campaign for Bitcoin. And they're looking for ways to now get creative and make Bitcoin more energy friendly and not going proof of stake and doing this in different ways. So Von Wog, the creator of this art piece, says, the skull of Satoshi has taken on a life of its own. It's now completely out of my control. In the real world, GP will use it as a symbol for why Bitcoin needs to change its code, as we saw here. Online, it's become a mascot for Bitcoin's environmental potential. And I love to see that. That's what the Bitcoin community took it as. So completely different perceptions from the two different communities. Shout out to Non-Refundable Network, where they say SushiSwap, they're looking to raise $3 million via the DAO by selling 15% of the DAO treasury. And the reason they're doing that is for legal defense because, and I'm going to have a couple slides of this, unfortunately, the SEC is really clamping down on a lot of crypto companies this week. You'll see in the following slides, and I'm beginning that list with SushiSwap here. They're going to need to raise funds to fight this and fight back with the SEC. As you can see, I say here, pretty discouraging how much the White House has changed its tune towards crypto. As we remember, they put a really positive article months back that they wanted America to become the hub of crypto. And now they've completely changed their tune. Where you can see here, the block says the White House crypto policy report blasts digital assets. White House says crypto assets do not offer any fundamental value, nor do they act as an effective alternative to fiat money. Interesting statement, especially with the following statement that came from that article. The White House suggests that the Fed's soon-to-be debuted faster payments network may eliminate much of the argument for digital assets. To me, I think they're feeling threatened from crypto. They understand that crypto is an alternative to what they're trying to do with CBDCs and their continued control of the US dollar via that program. So I think they feel threatened and they're directly attacking crypto, as we've seen in multiple shows in the past, different ways they're doing this via their what we call the choke point process towards crypto right now. And this is a tweet from the SEC directly where they say investments in crypto asset securities can be exceptionally volatile and speculative, and the platforms where investors buy, sell, borrow, lend these securities may lack important protection for investors. A lot of their actions are just not making sense. And this is a perfect example of how they're portraying to the public how they feel about crypto. And shout out to Blockworks, which is a Web3 media company where they just launched a platform for grants. So now this is becoming the one-stop shop for all crypto companies that have grants. And you can sign up for different sort of grants that these crypto companies have active. And now you can all find that all in the crypto grants directory. So shout out to them for shipping. CoinDesk says Telegram users can now transfer USDT Tether through chats. And this is what it says. Telegram users can now send each other Tether, the world's largest stablecoin by market cap, within chats in the messaging app. Has been added to the wallet bot on Telegram, expanding the messaging app's facility to buying and selling crypto. Integrating crypto payments into messaging apps like Telegram, in theory, rendering sending crypto as easy as sending a text. So that's going to be really cool. Well, one day we're just texting each other crypto all over the world. All right. Another list of people getting sued from the SEC in the crypto world is Tron founder Justin Sun. As you can see, they also are being attacked by the SEC. Bloomberg reports also that Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, their CEO, CZ, is being sued by the US CFTC for allegedly breaking trading and derivatives rules. This is actually pretty daunting because the CFTC says they have extensive investigation data that there is insider trading happening on Binance, which is pretty concerning. And CZ, the CEO of Binance, responded with him basically doubling down that they have done nothing wrong and Binance does all they can to meet requirements and they will continue to do so. But I'm interested to see the outcome of that. I mean, who's not getting sued by the SEC in crypto these days? So it's just a long list. This was very interesting to me. NVIDIA says, shout out to Decrypt, where he said, crypto adds nothing to society despite profiting from mining. Not only did the SEC just come out with that statement, but now NVIDIA is coming out with a similar statement. After selling chips to tons of miners all over the world mining crypto, which brought them so much revenue, very interesting for them for going after their own customers in the crypto industry in this way. Maybe they're doing this to avoid regulation hurdles with the government. Not sure, but not cool. It's been a while since I've seen this much FUD in the public eye from governments, companies, and all sorts of things towards crypto. CEO of Coinbase, and the list continues for the people being sued by Coinbase, and even our beloved American crypto company Coinbase is being attacked. Where the CEO of Coinbase says today Coinbase received a whale notice from the SEC focused on staking and asset listings. A whale's notice typically precedes an enforcement action. Shout out to Brian and Coinbase, man. They're continuously standing up for the crypto industry, where he says, we are proud to stand up for our customers in the industry in these moments. Going forward, the legal process will provide an open and public forum before an unbiased body where we will be able to make clear for all to see that the SEC simply has not been fair and reasonable or even demonstrated a serious purpose when it comes to engaging on this matter. The CFO of Coinbase says something similar, but something to point out. After years of asking for reasonable crypto rules, we are disappointed that the SEC is considering courts over constructive dialogue. But if courts are required, so be it. They're going to defend the rule of law. So shout out to Coinbase, man, for fighting the good fight. Sassel, shout out to him where he says the SEC misses one of the biggest frauds in history. Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. Gary Gensler, the leader of the SEC right now, closes up SBF during that, and then turns around with the SEC and goes after the most legitimate crypto company in America, Coinbase. Very unusual action here from SEC. All right, and then Circle, the company behind USDC, one of the largest stable coins in the world, where he states here, the market knows the difference between OPEC, offshore, and unregulated tokens, where no one knows anything about where the money is being held. And of course, he's talking about Tether here. And stablecoin issuer MakerDAO, which is one of the largest DeFi protocols in the crypto ecosystem, they voted to retain USDC as their primary reserve token. As we know, they hold about 30% of USDC within their DAI stablecoin. That's good news because they kept USDC, even though USDT Tether has the largest market cap in the world for stablecoins. And probably for the exact reasons Jeremy laid out here. Also, Jeremy says, native USDC rails with Expo Bank. This is very interesting news. Expo Bank becomes the first fully licensed bank to enable USDC deposits and withdrawals. This is big news. First time a bank is going to allow you to use some sort of crypto as a deposit or withdrawal. And I'm assuming this is, of course, just the beginning of that kind of thing. All right. This is just good to see. Daquan, who was the founder of Luna and really started a lot of the implosion for the down cycle of crypto at the beginning of last year. And Daquan is he's been arrested in Montenegrin, and he's being hit with conspiracy to fraud, commodities fraud, securities fraud, wire fraud, all kinds of things. So he's finally getting what he deserves here by America. Moving into some Tradefi stuff, I think it's always important to see what's happening macroly in the government, and I do think that spills over into crypto and Bitcoin. So shout out to Joe, where he shares the Bloomberg article where they say U.S. officials are studying whether they have authority to temporarily guarantee all U.S. bank deposits if needed to put a halt to the crisis. We know that banks have been failing left and right. The government has been having to bail out the banking sector in extraordinary ways, even in more ways than in 2008. And some of it has been very confusing in terms of the wording from Yellen in the Fed, where she says, we are not considering insuring all uninsured bank deposits. And then Powell says depositors should assume that deposits are safe. So they're trying to give consumers confidence that you can feel safe holding your money with banks, but then they're not actually coming out and saying we're backing all your bank deposits as the federal government, because that's a lot of money they would have to print if a bunch of bank runs would actually take off. Unusual Whale says it is estimated there are $18 trillion in total deposits across all banks in America, which if the Fed was going to back all of these deposits, that would be a lot of money that they would need to print. Of course, the odds of all banks having bank runs are very low, but even if just a fraction of them did, they would be printing a lot of money to cover that. Okay, and we know what happens when governments start to print again, which is exactly what's happening now, and I will illustrate that greatly in the next few charts within the next few slides. But the principle basically is when central banks print a lot of money, buy stocks, buy gold, buy commodities, essentially buy real assets as the currency devalues and then real assets continue to rise because that's the only thing worth its weight. Great charting here by Dario Perkins. So what this illustrates is U.S. bank failures by total assets. And in 2008, as you can see, a ton of large banks failed, very, very high in total assets within those banks. And now this is 2023, and we don't even know if this is the end of the current banking crisis. It wasn't a lot of banks in terms of numbers, but in terms of total assets, was fairly large. And who knows if by the end of this current banking crisis, we either reach or surpass the amount of total assets that were in failed banks during that Great Recession era. So very interesting illustration. So we talked about a couple weeks ago where the Fed came out and basically said, we're giving a lifeline to all banks where they're going to call it the Bank Term Funding Loan, where banks can take loans out of this program if they need it. And all they have to do is put up bonds as collateral, even though they're down bad on these bonds. And these loans are rising. The banks are starting to take advantage of this program, and the loans from banks from this particular program from the federal government went from 53 billion. I'm sorry, from 11 billion to 53 billion within the last week alone, and I believe that's higher as we speak. Shout out to Jim Bianco from Bianco Research, where he said the Fed updated their balance sheet. Now, 2/3 of quantitative tightening has been reversed. This is absolutely bonkers because the Fed has spent, the last year selling off the things on their balance sheet, and within a very short amount of time, they've already, you can see here 2/3 of QT done in the last year has already reversed in the last 2 weeks. We're in a position in America where the Fed can no longer not print and not keep rates low, and that is just compounding the situation that we're in. We'll just have to accelerate printing, accelerate dropping rates, and that's just not good for the economy and the currency, right? The US dollar. And this is a longer term chart of the Federal Reserve balance sheet. As you can see, it really exponentially grew in 2008. It's been up only since. COVID, it took it to a completely another level. And then we tried to kind of pull back from that, and now banks are failing, and we're going to have to print again. This is, to me, going to be an up-only chart in terms of Fed printing and putting assets on their balance sheet. Great tweet by Olaf, where he says, interestingly, a core pillar of the entire banking crisis is simply an accounting trick where held-to-maturity debt, the bonds that all these banks have on their asset balance sheets that they're down and underwater on, the trick is that they're marked based on the liquidity trading price and instead held on the books as if it hasn't lost any value. This basic trick is hiding billions in losses across financial institutions across America. Something that's really been popular this week in government is that a lot of U.S. politicians are coming out and sharing their thoughts on CBDCs, and several Republicans have dropped policies that share their thoughts to fight back against government efforts to create a CBDC. This conversation is starting to heat up, and I'm going to be watching closely because this is a really big deal whether we get these CBDCs or we don't. And as we know, some other big news this week is that the Federal Reserve actually did raise interest rates 25 basis points, which is pretty big because you have banks failing, you have inflation still very high, Fed's in a very interesting position because one way or the other they're screwed, but with financial institutions in such painful situations, they decided to raise anyways and making the situation even worse. But that's okay because the Fed is just going to print money and provide the unlimited amount of loans that these financial institutions need. So don't worry, we're good there. The Kabishi letter, we just had a collapse of the regional banking system, and Credit Suisse was acquired for pennies on the dollar, which one of the biggest bank failures this week was Credit Suisse. Meanwhile, the Fed raises rates. Fed said more rate hikes could come, which highly doubt that. There's just no way. Yellen said FDIC backing all deposits are not likely. So they even took that confidence away. Incredible article by Arthur Hayes, a hedge fund crypto manager, And I really enjoyed this piece. He breaks down exactly what is happening in the last month or so that is really a paradigm shift in federal monetary policy. He's such an incredible writer. I encourage you to take a read. And this means that financial instruments eligible for use as collateral under the program are limited to U.S. Treasury debt and mortgage-backed securities. The key thing here, and this is a reference to that banking loan program that we referenced in an earlier slide. But he says there are no size limitations. The Fed just conducted 4.4 trillion of QE under another guise. Essentially, yeah, because they're backing all these loans. There's no cap to them. If banks were to really fully take advantage of these loans, it could reach some pretty high levels. We don't know if that's going to happen, but the loans that are being taken out by banks keep rising every week. Shout out to Jim again, where he illustrates that money is continuing to move into money markets, these conservative funds, where you're getting high interest rates, right? And banks are not sharing this money with savings accounts. What are they doing? People are taking their money and putting them straight into money market funds and getting that 4.75% interest rate for doing nothing. So, but what is interesting to note here is that retail is moving their money into market funds. Ton of outflows from bank deposits, and you're seeing that huge jump. What usually happens when retail jumps into something? That means that the opposite markets are probably going to do better than what retail is trying to jump into. So just keep an eye on that. Maybe risk assets end up doing a little bit better now that retail and everybody has really jumped into money markets. Interesting news by the president of El Salvador, where he states, El Salvador president to eliminate all income, property, and capital gains taxes on technology innovation. This is huge. And I think this is really setting a precedent to what is to come for future countries, future cities, future territories where, and I stated here, governments will compete for citizens now that you can work from anywhere. Remote work, right, is here to stay. And combine that with now a public global currency that everybody has access to and nobody owns. So now governments are going to have to compete for citizens because they no longer have a monopoly on currency and their borders, because now anybody can work from anywhere, right? So I think places like obviously El Salvador and other places are going to do things like this to attract top-level entrepreneurs and different people to their respected areas. All right, the bank failures were not enough, and now we're already looking into the eyes of a different crisis, which is the commercial real estate loan sector. And as you can see here, the Financial Post says, remote work trend creates mortgage-backed securities, default risk, Moody's warns. U.S. office space revenue falling at record vacancy rates. Foss says here, when the Fed raised rates so aggressively, the cap rates on commercial real estate should rise in lockstep, but they haven't. The next big shoe to fall in credit because of interest rates is commercial real estate exposure at banks. The loans are all mismarked, just like the bonds were mismarked, and then we found out that they were being mismarked and banks were caught with their pants down. Just like their UST bond portfolio, banks are walking wounded due to their bond portfolios, and this is even before their commercial loans lost expectations. Do the math. Bank stocks are way overvalued due to their so again, there's a lot of things happening in the economy right now, and the Fed is trying to figure out how to do this, and of course that's why they're putting out all these lifelines in the banks. If this comes to fruition, the banks are going to need to tap into that loan program even more, which means that the Fed is going to have to figure out a way to get that money to them, right? Whether that's printing, some sort of quantitative easing, or different methods. The last thing I want to share and talk about is NFT Orlando happened this week in Central Florida. We had a great time. I had the opportunity to speak and touch on the future of NFTs, and these are some pictures with some awesome people in Central Florida area. So shout out to everybody there. We're still building and having conversations around the future of crypto, even though I know everybody is chasing the shiny thing, AI, right now. So thanks again for joining in another episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha, episode 7, where we bring you everything that is happening in the next iteration of the internet, Web3.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been popping since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince.